Hey there, folks. My name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Jazz Piano Fundamentals. I'm the author of Solo Standards for Piano. And I'm, the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano. I got a little too excited, but don't miss this book, Playing Solo Jazz Piano. Some might say it's classic in its field. Others might not. Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about how to teach and learn connecting between measures. If you watched my video last week on common tones and contrasting tones, I've noticed that a lot of my even really skilled students do a good job improvising in every bar separately, but it's those connections that are really hard to come by. And so I want to talk about approaching chord tones and setting up chord tones on the downbeat. And if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I don't think there's going to be anything new here for you, but I think it'll be a good reminder. So, I've said this before, I'll say it again. One way, a really, really good way, I think, to improvise, let's say this chord's chord A and this is chord B, is that we're going to play notes from chord A or that somehow reflect, and we're thinking about chord A for about the first three and a half, maybe 4 beats of the measure. And then we're going to spend this part of the measure targeting a note X. We're targeting note X with the last 8th note, 2 8th notes, 3 8th notes, maybe even 4 8th notes. Okay, so what we can really, really learn is what are those targeting devices. We can practice that. And then the hard part is connecting between whatever's happening with chord A to the targeting device where we're targeting note X. Okay, so that's the deal. That's what I want to talk about today. This chart looks a little bit like the ravings of a lunatic, but so it goes. So, all right, first, what notes are we targeting? The answer is it could be really any chord tone, but I really think that you get your money's worth practicing targeting the third of the chord. Really, regardless of what kind of chord it is, that is the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 things to practice. After that, you can practice targeting the 7th, the 5th, the 9th, I guess the root, maybe the 13th, but really, you want to practice targeting the third of the chord, and that's what we're going to focus on here. So, what are some ways that we can target a pitch like E? So first of all, let me just say that it doesn't matter, actually, that it's a C major 7 when we're thinking about targeting, because most of what we're doing with targeting just has to do with steps, has to do with half steps. So here's a few kind of simple ways that we can target it using 2 notes. We could go down chromatically. And notice I'm putting this note on the downbeat, and the targeting device, as I mentioned, is going before that. So those 2 notes, G flat and F, are just moving into E by half step. They don't have anything to do with whatever the chord was, whatever the chord's going to be. We just know that we're targeting E. What's great about this, by the way, so we'll call this half steps down. What's great about this, by the way, to finish my sentence, is that you only have to learn targeting devices for 12 pitches. It doesn't have to be for 36, different chords or more. Once you know how to target an E, you could target an E anywhere you want. Okay, we could do half steps down. You could probably guess that we could do half steps up. Ba-doo-dum. Great. Many of you might be able to guess what's coming next, which is a chromatic enclosure. Going a half step above, and then a half step below that note. Okay. So these are 3 always effective 2-note ways to target your chord tone. 2, 3, boom. let's talk about a few 3-note ways. And the first couple are going to be very basic, which is that we could just go down by 3 half steps into your note. We could go up by 3 half steps to target your note. Da, da, do, do. And then we can combine different some different elements with enclosures. For example, ba-da-do-do. Okay, so you can see I'm going 2 half steps down and then doing the enclosure. Or on the other side, very fun, ba-da-do-do, 2-note enclosure from below. Okay, I'm giving these to you because it's a YouTube channel. If I'm going to be honest, I really have only practiced the top line. I haven't spent any time that I can remember practicing the bottom line of 3-note setups. Okay, so what sorts of things can you do then to practice this? Well, I would start with a 2-5-1 before anything. Let's do a 2-5-1 in F just for kicks. Ooh, what am I doing? And let's do half step up. Okay, so I'm going to be targeting the thirds of each of these chords. And so first I'm going to practice 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. And I just want to make sure that I really know where that is. So, and some of these notes are going to be like dissonant against the chord, but they're non-chord tones, so that's okay. Do, ba, da, dum, bo, do, do, bo, do, 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 do. We might start to ask ourselves what sorts of things we can fill in. I'm always a big fan of practicing 3, 5, 7, 9 arpeggios, and this is a really great opportunity to practice those. So in that case, I'm going to be adding do ba da da. I can't sing that high. I'm so sorry. Bo bo do ba. I'm singing an octave lower. Bo do de da. Do do de da. Or we might ask ourselves, well, what if we did that 3, 5, 7, 9, but we're getting higher and higher and higher. So what if we leap down from the first to the second note? And I realize we're still not improvising. This is still a rote exercise. But I think it's a very useful rote exercise. And it's certainly what I've done. And that makes the fingering a little bit more pleasant, too. Now, a good next step would be to turn the metronome down. And now what we have is 4 notes, 4 eighth notes on beats 1 and 2, and 2 eighth notes on beat 4. So now we're going to improvise notes in beat 3 to connect between these different parts. So maybe it'll be... limited number of tools, of space to work with, but see how creative you can be within that space. It's also just great fingering practice at the same time. Okay, so that's kind of one way you can do it. You can choose some arpeggios. You could also work with some scales. It could be do 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 bo be be bum, bo bo do do dum. So I'm just doing whatever the appropriate scale is, going up, bo bo do be de, do 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 be be. And then try the same thing going down. Kind of ends in a funky place, so maybe. And then can you connect that? Not a lot of space to connect it, but you can still try. All right, and then the next couple of things that I would do is I would start trying to improvise. Maybe start with a rhythm. So like, let's do 1 and 2 and, same as the arpeggios. And now I'm going to improvise notes and then always come back to the ascending half steps. And then like a final step on this journey, never a final step, is to play it slowly and try to improvise all the eighth notes, arriving at the chromatics each time. Hear the chromatic? Every time that 4 and is staying the same and targeting the third on the downbeat. Not saying it's easy, not by any means, but that's kind of the process that I think about for trying to connect better between these chords. If you're constantly reacting to the chord that just came instead of leading into the next chord, you're not going to be improvising at your full potential. So this kind of thing you'll find a lot of in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2, the purple book. And there's also some good example solos, if you'll bear with me for just a second, in Solo Standards for Piano. I was just looking at this solo on Lover, and we're just going to look at these first 8 bars here. Looking at all the times that I lead into a measure, and look at what's happening. 2 half steps leading down. This is a C major chord, so it's leading to the 5th here. But you can see it's targeting that note by half steps. This is a B half diminished. By the way, some of you are like, why aren't there chord symbols in there? And the answer is that I wanted this to be really clear and nice to play. And there's a link in the book, a QR code that goes to a website where there are versions with chord symbols. So if you want to see the chord symbols, they are very much there for you. But I didn't want the book to look messy. I wanted you to be able to play it and enjoy it. So again, here I'm targeting the 3rd. And there's 2 half steps leading down. D to D sharp, 2, you guessed it, E, this is A minor, but that's 2 half steps targeting the 5th. And here's a little left hand melody. This is D7 sharp 11, 2 half steps leading down, or 2 half steps leading down. And then last thing we'll look at, we're moving towards a G, and this is our enclosure, right? We're going a half step above, a half step below in order to target that note. Listen to this solo one more time so you can get the feeling of how this sounds. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. I usually do my closing in this camera angle, so I hope that's better. Hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, book 2 of Jazz Piano Fundamentals is a good thing if this was your level. And check out Solo Standards for piano. I put a lot of effort and love into these arrangements. If you've watched this far, why don't you say something about targets, since we've been talking about targeting. Thanks for watching, everybody.